People across China are taking a stand, protesting against the country's strict zero COVID policy. We've seen some cities under lockdown for more than 100 days. Now, China's enforcing mass COVID testing, isolation for anyone who tests positive, and businesses and schools are even closed in lockdown areas. You're looking right now at the tram cam. This is atop a bus live in Hong Kong.
Yeah, you don't get to see that every day. They're obviously separate from the mainland there on the left side of your screen. Again, a live look, what you're seeing there. On the right, much different story in the mainland. Protests erupting across the country. Essentially, these citizens have had enough. And that's what you're seeing. And they're holding up white sheets of paper because essentially representing their voice that is silenced, where they cannot speak out. There's nothing written down. And that is a show of symbolism there. You've seen them battle with police, many arrested amid the growing protests. China, though, announcing it will be easing some of its COVID lockdown measures. But so far, China reported nearly 308,000 COVID cases with symptoms. Xi Van Fleet is a survivor of Mao's revolution, joining us live on National Report. Very important to have you on. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us here. So,
thank you.
Let's just jump into your overall thoughts of the protests that are continuing even now, this very hour, and seeing citizens actually finally stepping up and really speaking out despite the consequences. How do you see it?
It's overwhelming. I just did not dream that I would see this happen in China today, and people finally waking up. And they're not just asking to stop the lockdown. They're asking Xi Jinping to step down and ask the demand CCP to step down. This is unbelievable. This is the first time since 1989 pro-democracy student movement in Tiananmen Square. And I just really want to point it out for the American audience. Don't look at it as if something that's just happened over there. What happened in China today is what could happen in America if we don't stop the radical left and its totalitarianism. And because this is what Fauci said, China model, and that's the model he wants for us.
And, you know, that's such a great point you make, because I think, you know, the United States, we've been kind of moving on from COVID, despite what Fauci or Biden may say. And now Biden said the pandemic is over. I think Americans have thought that for a long time. But, you know, I think it's easy to look at this and what's happening in China and say, hey, we're OK, everything's fine here. We've gotten past those mandates, past those lockdowns. But you're right, it is important for Americans to pay attention to this and not take for granted the fact that we could turn into this situation again, into these lockdowns and these mandates and so forth. Do you feel that the Biden administration should come out with a stronger message of support for the people of China? We heard a little bit yesterday in a press briefing with John Kirby, but really not a strong message of support coming from this White House.
Absolutely. It's so weak. It's ridiculous. They're supposed to be the party for human rights. This is about human rights. It's not even about human rights. It's about freedom to live. And people push to the breaking point because they don't even have enough food. Their livelihood were totally destroyed. We see tragedies happen everywhere. We see people burned, babies burned to death because the door was locked from outside. We see pregnant women died with the baby because they could not get out of their lockdown district or neighborhood. This tragedy of suicide everywhere. I believe what happened in China is CCP's state terrorism. What they did to the Chinese people is the crime against humanity. And here we are, supposedly the beacon of freedom. We are silent. Mostly.
Survivor of Mao's revolution, Xi Van Fleet, joining us in a very specific perspective. And what a message that you have for Americans here today watching what's happening in China. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.